So after you've gone through and you've inked all your major outlines of the spaces and you've got your kind of big pattern here, what you want to do now is start to think about how you're going to fill each of these individual spaces with designs, patterns, or ink techniques. And I want to give you a couple examples of these. So I've made a little scrap of paper. I did a quick tracing of this. And I want to remind you that with ink, remember you can always start with pencil so you can test out some of your designs. So maybe I want to do some scale designs in here. I can go through and practice it out in pencil first and see how it looks. That way if I don't like it, all I have to do is erase it. It won't stay there. So drawing lightly in pencil is a great way to start. I also like to say, when in doubt, test it out. So what does that mean? Well, when in doubt, when you're not sure what it's going to look like, grab a scrap of paper. It could be with the back of an envelope, back of an old piece of paper, piece of printer paper. It could be any of those things. You can go to it and test it out, see what it's going to look like. So do a small sample. So I'm going to use this to show you some different options of ink techniques. I'm going to use the thin Sharpie for this, but you can use the thick Sharpie and other things as well. So let's start off with the most kind of fundamental part. I'm just going to kind of alternate here. Positive and negative space. So you can use positive space or filling in areas to balance that with negative space. So where it's dark in one area and light in the other. And just a reminder that this project has symmetry. It has radial symmetry, which means that as you go around in a circle, things repeat. So they repeat around the center like a wheel. So as you do one thing to one area, you may want to rotate your design and do it to other areas as well. So I'm going the alternate here. I can use a positive space. So it's good to go through. If you're not sure what it's going to look like, again, when in doubt, test it out. If you're going to fill areas in solid, you might want to shade them in first if you're not sure. So we have positive and negative space. Once we get into the spaces, we have different ways we can create patterns. So I'm going to use these two triangles real quick and show you can do a stipple, which is a fancy way of saying a dot pattern. So I might go in and make dot patterns using the tip of my marker there. So fill an area with dots. Or you can use what we call hatching, which is using straight lines. Maybe you would go in and just create stripes. Other options that you have are cross-hatching. Maybe I'll come in here and I'll do lines going one way. So that's a hatch pattern. And then to cross-hatch, I'll go the opposite way, or I'll cross it and build a web. And if you want, you can combine techniques. You could use positive and negative space. You can make a checkerboard and build up designs using that. It's your call. However you want to create, the patterns can be yours. So we've got stipple with little dots, hatching, cross-hatching. We also have line weight. You can go through and make lines thicker to make them pop forward. So maybe that's where you come in and use a thicker Sharpie or marker. So big, thick lines will pop forward. You can alternate lines. So let's say I want to change a different pattern and add something up in a different location. So maybe I will go back in and I'll try to make this symmetrical. So I'll turn these into hatch lines. But I want to cover them. I might come back in and make every other line thick, almost like a stripe. So I can do that over here too. Make this line thicker, so that's called line weight. And then one of the last things that you can do, and probably one of the most customizable, is on Canvas there is an ink technique or ink pattern handout linked. You can bring that up, and if you're having a hard time thinking of patterns, you can look at this for different options. If you search online, you can find other ones, but maybe I decide that I want to do something like this. So I'll break that down and I'll go, okay, this looks kind of like a checkerboard effect. So maybe I'll go in and I'll make a checkerboard. And it looks like they curved in each section, so maybe I'll do some curved lines here. Come back, do some other curved lines. So I'm planning it out in pencil because I'm not quite sure how it's going to look first. I want to see it. So when in doubt, plan it out. And then I notice that lines change direction. So these ones go up and down, these ones go side to side, up and down, so I can go through and fill it. So your goal is to take this mandala pattern, this template, and go in and make patterns repeat. So as I go around, maybe every one to the right of this line is going to be the same. So I do it here, I'd rotate, I do it here, I'd rotate, I do it here, rotate, I do it here. Everybody's design is going to be different, so what you do is going to be slightly different. Fill it with patterns. Some can be solid, some can be white space. Experiment. Use your handout for ideas. Come up with patterns that aren't on this handout. Try a few different things. So once you're done, you'll end up with a nice, really detailed black and white mandala. And hopefully the process of making it, you've slowed down, felt a little bit relaxed, and enjoyed the process of creating art. Good luck with finishing your mandala.